Hi, I am Vicki Leahy, and this is a workshop on Writer's Workshop, more specifically, conferencing with students. First, I will begin by looking at the quote by Stephen Pea. The quote states, "The best way to teach is the way that makes sense to you, your kids, and your community." This specific quote I found to be very important, especially in terms of conferencing with students. A conference is only successful if it makes sense to you, the student, and the class as a whole. What works best for one teacher and/or student may be different for another. To begin this workshop, I believe one must know and understand how Writer's Workshop works. There are three main components to Writer's Workshop. The first is the mini lesson. The mini lesson is a short lesson that targets a specific skill in writing. Depending on grade level, the mini lesson should typically be about 10 to 15 minutes. For younger grades, the time will be much shorter due to the child's attention span. The next portion of Writer's Workshop is the independent writing. This is the section that our workshop is focusing on today. This is the time when students freely write about their chosen topic. At this point in Writer's Workshop, the teacher should be circulating the room looking for students to conference with. The last main component of Writer's Workshop is sharing. This is when students are given the opportunity to share their writing with their peers. This area should last about 5 to 10 minutes, but again, depends on the grade level and, of course, the students. What is conferencing? Take a minute and turn to your neighbor to discuss what you believe conferencing in the classroom environment is and what it should look like. So, what is conferencing? Conferencing is a conversation typically between a student and teacher. However, conferences may also take place between two students, also known as peer editing. During the conference between student and teacher, it is important to remember the conversation should be very laid back and the student should not feel pressure or feel that they are being attacked about his or her writing. Chances are that if the conference is kept positive, the student will write more and be more open to suggestions from others. So, what is the purpose of conferencing with students? Why do we do it? Turn to your neighbor and take 2 to 3 minutes to discuss what you believe the purpose of conferencing is with students. Why do we conference? Is there a specific purpose? Go ahead and share your thoughts. While brainstorming the same question, I've reflected back on all of the classes I have taught or sat in on that involved conferencing. Although there are many goals that teachers have in regards to conferencing, I believe that the main goal of a writing conference is to help the students to become better writers and to learn new skills. Before I give you some helpful hints that every teacher should know about conferencing, I believe it is important to take a look at common conferences in grades K to 2, which is labeled Worksheet 1 that was handed out to you at the beginning of this workshop, and common conferences in grades 3 to 8, labeled Worksheet 2. Both of these charts are taken from the article written by Carl Anderson titled Conferring with Student Writers. Please take 2 to 3 minutes to read through the charts. Feel free to point out any information that sparks your interest. Okay, let's take a look at two sample writings, one from a kindergarten student and the other from a 4th grade student. In your groups, let's first take a look at the sample kindergarten writing taken from the Reading Rocks website, labeled number 3 in the right-hand corner. Please take 3 to 4 minutes to discuss what you would choose to conference with the student. What were some of his or her strengths? Feel free to look at worksheet number 1 of the common conferences for grades K to 2 for reinforcement. Now, let's take a look at the 4th grader's writing sample labeled number 4, found from the Oregon Department of Education Student Work Writing. Also in your groups, please take another 3 to 5 minutes to discuss the student's strengths and what you would choose to conference with the student. Helpful tips for conferencing. When first beginning using Writer's Workshop in your classroom, it is important to show and explain to students how you want this process to work. If you begin Writer's Workshop in a very controlled environment where students are taught to sit and taught the writing workshop process at the beginning of the year, the students will only get better as time progresses. If you allow for students to be up out of their seats, coming over to you during a conference, that will never change and the students will never properly learn how to do a writer's workshop. Here are some other helpful tips during a conference. Visit the student at his or her desk to keep the conference less stressful. This also allows for other students to eavesdrop and get some helpful suggestions. Be positive about the student's work. Allow the student to share his or her ideas without reading their piece of writing. And then, finally, allow the student to read his or her piece of writing out loud to you. During a conference, here are some questions that you may ask. What are you working on? Can you explain to me what you are working on without reading your work? Can you read to me what you have so far? How do you feel it is coming? Is there anything I can help you with? What are you going to do next? Try not to give the student the answer to their questions, but rather help to guide them to determine what they need to work on. If the student is having trouble coming up with an area to work on, then it is appropriate for the teacher to suggest what they feel the student should work on. During a conference, take notes. Take 1 to 2 minutes to share with your neighbor why it is important for the teacher to take notes during or directly after the conference with the student. This is a sample conferencing sheet taken from Carl Anderson's Conferring with Student Writers. You could use this conferencing sheet at any age level. This conferencing sheet would have been appropriate to use in our previous activity where in groups we discussed the kindergarten and 4th grade writing sample. You have all received this conferencing sheet labeled number 5. Having trouble finding time to hold a conference? No worries. A conference does not have to be a sit-down conversation. A simple praise to the student's work is enough sometimes to keep the student focused. Why is praise important? Every conference should start with a simple praise to the student's writing. By praising a student's work, it is believed that students are more willing to open up and share their ideas on their own writing. Here are some frequently asked questions regarding conferences. Where should I hold my conference? Answer. Conferences should be held at the student's desk unless the child requests to be at your desk, so other children have the opportunity to eavesdrop and gain tips from their peers. Question. What tools should I bring with me? Answer. You should bring a pen, pencil, and your assessment sheet. Question. Who should initiate the conference? Answer. Conferences can be initiated by students or by the teacher if the teacher feels a student might need some extra attention. Question. At what point in the writing process should I conference with a student? You can conference at any point in the writing process, whether it be editing, revising, brainstorming, etc. That was the answer. Question. How long should a conference be? Answer. Conferences can be quick or it can last up to 7 minutes. It all depends on what works best for you and your student. Here's a quick video that demonstrates a teacher conferencing with his student. Enjoy.
I love your story. I love your illustration. I love the details. I love the fact that you've labeled your characters, and the words are phenomenal. And so I'm just going to read them to you to make sure that I have them right. Okay. A long time ago, there was a princess named Math. Okay, so that's page 1. On page 2, this is page 2. Okay, so you have here, she went to a party in the castle. And I love the illustration, especially, these must be the people at the party. Outstanding, and this is her. And I'm noticing that the time of day is sunny, and so it's a really great day. It's a great day for a party. Okay, cool. All right, now, here's the interesting thing. You didn't show us the party, but you showed us what happened after the party, which I thought was kind of neat. So you've got her after the party, she went home. I'm assuming this is her house. And so you actually added a mystery person in your story. We don't really know who that is. That's really exciting. Could the mystery person be a good person or a not good person? It's good. Excellent. Okay, cool. So now, what I noticed was, unless I'm missing it, and I think I might have, here we go. This is where I'm curious because I'm not sure what's happening. Which one comes next? This one or this one? Okay. Is this the Princess Mouse? Okay, who or what is that? It's the genie. Where does she meet the genie? In the house, outside, what's going on? Okay, so this is going to be kind of a problem for her because the genie's going to do something, I'm assuming. Going to be adding something. What's the genie going to be adding? Oh, okay. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, then you already have it. So the princess is coming to the genie's house. But why is she not this? Okay. Oh, so it's magic. So something's going to happen when she eats the food. Have you thought about what she's going to do when she eats the food? Is it going to be something really good or maybe something else? That's awesome. Okay, so here's what we have to do then. Before you get like too out of control here, we got to get you to make sure. I'm going to write this down. So that the genie comes. What's her name? Takes Madeline, okay, to his house, right? Alright. And then I'm going to write this note. I don't think you have another paper here, but I think I'm going to write it down. You have another illustration paper on your table? Okay. Oh, you're already doing it. Okay, so, oh, my goodness, you already have a setting. The table is ready and everything. Outstanding. This is beautiful. I love it. You know, actually, anything you do, I love it. So, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to write down your magic food. This is from Mr. Rigo's house. Could be bad, okay? I'm going to put a question mark there because we don't know. Sound good? Love your story. Outstanding. Okay, so go. I can't wait to read the next step. There's so much suspense here building in your story. I just love it. Outstanding. Thank you very much. Excellent. Good job.
Provided for you is a sample and summary from Carl Anderson's book, How's It Going? A Practical Guide to Conferring with Student Writers. You have the summer to read it, and we will be discussing the book when you return in September. Please take notes. This book is a helpful tool that can surely help you when conferencing with students come next year. Thank you for attending my workshop on successful conferencing with student writers. I hope you enjoyed yourself and learned some new things. Thank you.